Hello everyone, my name is Auro and welcome to the 8th devlog of Mortal Glory 2, a turn-based gladiator roguelike. Okay, so brace yourselves. In this devlog I will be talking about tooltips. Maybe not the most exciting stuff you can talk about in a game, but I think tooltips are very important and there are many ways to implement them, some ways better than others and some ways more annoying than others. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. So what I started with was basically copying my tooltip system from Chambers of Devious Design. Not the full system, but just the basis. So there's the box and then there's like text field that can expand, and then you can also show a picture in the tooltip, and I'm using the content size fitter component, something like that. I don't know if that's the exact name in Unity, but yeah, basically that like expands the tooltip box as needed. It's a bit finicky component with the tooltips, like it doesn't work perfectly in all scenarios and there's like small adjustments that I need to do to make it look better. But yeah, it also allows you nicely to have like different sized boxes based on your needs for the tooltips. Adding a bit more features to it, I made the units glow a bit when their tooltip is shown. Small touch. Then I also have the items tooltipped, and then if the item has a skill attached to it, then it will also show a tooltip for that skill. And this kind of led me to the like more profound thinking about the tooltips and how to handle them. Because in the game I have a lot of content I want to show more information for, and tooltips are the best way probably to show that information. So for example, yeah, you have a character. I cannot show all the character info on the screen at the same time. So yeah, you put mouse over a unit and it shows the character info. So that's simple. But then that unit can have items also. So of course, if I see the unit has a interesting item, I want to see how good that item is and if it has like any special functions. Okay, yeah, then the next level, that item can have a skill attached to it also. So yeah, if I see that okay, that item has a teleport skill, so what is the teleport skill? I want to show that information also somewhere. So yeah, it's a multi-layered mess of needed information kind of, and I needed to come up with a good solution how I could handle all this information. And I basically came up with 3 different options for it. Option A was to handle it how I handled it in Mortal Glory 1. And that was basically quite simple. So you put a mouse over the object you're interested in, for example a character, it shows a tooltip. Then I allow the mouse to go over the tooltip. So even if you leave the character with the mouse, the tooltip doesn't disappear, it will stay on. And then yeah, you maybe have the item on the character, you put mouse over that, it shows the tooltip on top of the previous tooltip. And yeah, basically going with that, it's a multi-layered tooltip system. So the good thing with that is that it is functional and it is quite flexible also. But the bad thing is that it can feel kind of clunky because the tooltips stay on after you move the mouse away from the first object. So if you actually want to get rid of the tooltip, you didn't want to like check the item on a character, the tooltip can stay on if you don't actually move the mouse to the right spot away from the tooltip and the character. So yeah, can feel a bit clunky, and also it's not very controller friendly. It doesn't really support like the navigation that is not mouse-like. Then option B, which is to open all the available child tooltips along with the parent tooltip. So for example, if I open the character tooltip, then if the unit has an item, that tooltip will automatically be shown also at the same time. And yeah, the good things with that is that you get an instant access to information, like all the information you might want. And it is also controller friendly. You don't need to put your like controller on top of the next object that will spawn the tooltip. Everything will be shown at once. But the bad thing with that is that it is very easy to get this overload of information, and actually I don't think I will be able to show everything at once even, because yeah, let's use the character again as the example. So I put the mouse over the character and I get the character details, then maybe the item details, then maybe the skills on the items and so on. All that maybe could even be doable, but then the character has this stats, strength, agility, wisdom, whatever. So I also want to make it available for the player to get more details about the stats. So for example, yeah, you might be interested to know that the strength gives like 1 physical damage and so on. And oh yeah, maybe the character also has debuffs. You need to display that information also. So yeah, basically so many things you would need to show on the screen at the same time. So yeah, information overload. Then a third option I considered was to kind of like have a hybrid model in a sense. So you put the mouse over the unit, which will open the character tooltip, and then if you want to keep that tooltip on, maybe you press a mouse, which will make it a permanent window, the tooltip. Good part with that, I thought, was that it's flexible. It gives more like room for the player to handle the tooltips as they want, but the bad thing is that it can feel very clunky. It's maybe not the most intuitive for new players, and then it is also not very controller friendly. So since this option didn't give anything new when compared to option A, and the option B was kind of impossible due to the amount of information, I decided to go with option A similar system when compared to Mortal Glory 1, but also maybe try to tune it to be a bit better at the same time. All the work on Tooltips was pretty exhausting, to be honest. I didn't really enjoy it too much. So meanwhile, I also want to do some manual work where I don't need to think so much. So I also added all the graphics for the different unit races into the game and added the animations and all that stuff. A fun little detour. And then back to the tooltips, yay! Even though I had a similar system in Mortal Glory 1, it was not easy by any means to implement this system, because what I had in Mortal Glory 1 was very clunky. It was such a spaghetti code. I didn't want to copy that system at all, like how I had implemented it. So I basically tried to implement a completely new system, even though the functionality would be similar. There were many bugs I needed to fix, and luckily I kind of have forgotten about those bugs, at least most of them, now that I'm filming this like 2 months later or something like that. But yeah, after all the work, I had this fairly like well-functioning system that was very flexible in the sense that I could have even like 100 different tooltips shown on the screen at the same time, like on top of each other, and the order of those tooltips was like well handled on the code side. So if you go backwards to like in the tooltip chain, then yeah, the tooltips will actually close in the right order. And yeah, of course, in the actual game, I don't think I will ever have more like 3, maybe 4 or 5 tooltips at the same time. But it's nice to know that the functionality is there. If I need to, for some reason, I need to have like many tooltips in a chain on the screen, that is easily possible with this system. Visually, I will still of course need to adjust the tooltip. This is just the placeholder graphic. I will make it prettier later on. Having the tooltip system implemented was a relief, but also not a huge relief at the same time, because I know I will need to get back to it and keep adding more stuff to it. And at the same time, I'm also kind of worried about the tooltips in the sense that they are a great way to show information, but I don't want them to be too annoying, like if the player's trying to like move mouse somewhere and there's a tooltip pop-ups like on top of what you want to like move the mouse over, and then that blocks you, and then you need to drag the mouse away, and then yeah, that can easily be very annoying. I don't want that, but I think it's probably a problem of having your cake and eating it too type of thing, so you can't have like both in a perfect sense. There's like some middle ground I will need to try to reach for and balance it out, but I would very much love to hear your opinions, like if you have an idea how the tooltips could be handled in a very informative way, like be able to show all the relevant information and not be annoying at the same time. Maybe you know of a game where it was handled really well. Yeah, I would love to hear and check it out. Tooltips are something I think about now and then. I think there's lots of room for improvement usually with them, especially if your game has a lot of information you need to show to the players. Oh, and if you're curious how my tooltip system works, so the very basic form of it is that when you open the first tooltip, it will try to go towards the middle of the screen in order to avoid going over the borders, and then it kind of remembers that direction. So then if you move the mouse over the tooltip and that has something that opens a new tooltip, then it will open the new tooltip in that direction, and then that basically continues until it goes too close to the border of the screen. It will know that and then change the direction to, I think, opposite or maybe like 90-degree angle. I can't remember for sure, but something like that. And to enable the chaining of the tooltips, I won't go too technical in it. It's kind of complicated how I have implemented, but I basically have like 2 interfaces. I have like iTooltipable and iTooltip opener. So basically a source of information that can be tooltipped, and then like the object that can open that tooltip. So if there's the link in a tooltip, that's the tooltip opener, and then that pops up, that's the another information, the iTooltipable. With those two I can basically track the logic, like what object has opened what information on the screen, and then I also detect the mouse movement, like when a mouse is on top of some like object or not. When the mouse leaves that object, then it will basically check the like list of tooltips, like okay, if it's not on top of this window anymore, can we now close some tooltips, and basically goes through the list backwards to close all the tooltips that no longer are like valid to be shown on the screen. So yeah, that's the basic logic, and there's lots of like small details there that keep the logic actually running there. But hey, that's everything I have for this devlog. I hope it wasn't too boring for the two of you that stuck around to the end. Yeah, as mentioned, I would love to hear your opinions and comments about what I implemented, and if you have any ideas for making it better, not have it be annoying, that would be appreciated. Yeah, alright, hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.